Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. This video is going to be a barter guide specifically for the hardcore wipe. That'll work outside of that, but this is geared towards the more difficult stuff because you don't have the flea market. The goal of the video is essentially to point out some of the best barters you may be overlooking now that there isn't a flea market. The barter system, in a way, lets you cheat code the RNG a little bit by giving you more possibilities with often easier items to find than the harder ones that you're bartering for. Now, even sitting down and starting the script, I know this video is going to be a long one, so I'm going to break it into two groups. The first one's really short. I'm just going to give you the 10 or 15 best across the board barters that you should be using. That way you don't have to watch the whole video if you don't have time, or you can come back later. And then that's the later part, is when I'll go over every trader and point out their barters, the ones that I think that matter the most to you that you might be overlooking. So if you don't have time in one sitting for the whole thing, no big deal. You'll just get a lot of bang for your buck in the first little bit. So let's jump right in and get those 15 out of the way. All right, so first up is going to be on Prapor loyalty level 1. This is a low level barter. This is meant for when you're getting started out, and it is the PP19. It's two T-plugs, and the reason I say this is great is because 9 mils all over the place. You get it off of scavs, you can find it, you can buy it. And the PP19 is cheap. You can even insure it, and you're probably going to get it back. Most players aren't going to take it from you. So early on, especially when money's tight, you can find these T-plugs all over the place, especially in filing cabinets. And 2 of those yielding you a weapon is better than going out with a pistol. Now, the next one is something that a lot of people might not know about because it just got added, and that is the AK-12 suppressor. It's on Prapor 3, and it's 2 Dranos. Again, this is newly added. The reason it's in here is because you need it for test drive part 3. Yeah, test drive part 3. And you couldn't buy that suppressor anywhere. So this was a way to get it to where you could get it off of the traders. Now, next up on Therapist loyalty level 1 is Salewas. Now, a lot of you veterans are going to roll your eyes at this, and that's fine, but there's a lot of new players that overlook this. And basically what I want you to get in your head is that a paid, freaking anti-roach spray or an emergency water ration, these equal Salewas. And that's what they do to me. Whenever I see those, that's what I think is, okay, all right, great, I can get a Salewa. Especially when you start looking at how expensive these are to buy or even craft. They're pretty pricey to craft. So being able to take one of these out of raid, barter it, and get yourself a Salewa like that, great value you're getting out of that barter. Now, along with this is the Grizzly, another med. This is one of my favorite barters in all of Tarkov. I use this more than probably any of the others. A gas analyzer and a UV lamp for a Grizzly. Now, I run these Grizzlies in raid. You might not be there yet, that's fine. But this is a really cheap barter. Again, you can find these on your scavs, these parts, these gas analyzers and the UV lamps. And then you have a Grizzly that, again, you can use in raid, or it's actually way cheaper to use that to heal yourself after raid instead of paying therapists. So if you're really struggling for rubles, don't burn that money on therapists at the end of your raid after you die or you get out with you're all banged up. Use a Grizzly because it'll heal everything. It stops everything except the cultist poison, but it'll fix breaks, stops bleeds, heals your health, all of that stuff. It's a great cost saver on that side of things. Now, for number 5, we have the UMP on Peacekeeper 1. This barter has 2 great purposes to it. One, obviously, it's a gun. You have a weapon that's really effective. 45 hits hard, and umps are easy to control, not crazy recoil or anything like that. You don't need to slap a lot of parts on them. But 2, barters level up your trader rep. So, this money spent up here, you have to spend money with the trader. By bartering, that goes up as well. And I can't remember exactly what an ump is. I think it's like 400 or 500 USD that it goes up, but it does go up. And all you have to do is drag knives out every raid that you're going to find anyways. I don't bring extra raids usually unless I have extra space, but if the first scav I kill, I grab the knife off of them. I go into raid without a knife in my sheath, and then whatever knife I pull out. And then if I find these bayonets or these black AT-2607s, I take those out, and as I get enough of them, I do the barter. And it's gotten to the point now that it got to the point later. I've got all my money for Peacekeeper 4, but before that, I was doing that just to do the barter, and then I would sell the ump right back to Peacekeeper to make that little extra bit of money and push his spent money up for leveling. Now, the next one's on Peacekeeper 2, and it is the Day Pack. This is a great barter at the level because once you get Peacekeeper 2, this is one of the only backpacks you have access to. And it's just a hard drive and a DVD. And these are really easy to find. Again, you find them on your scavs and just put it in your head that this equals a day pack. Get one of those, barter for it, and you're golden. You have a backpack you can use that's halfway decent, that it's light. And if you need to upgrade in raid, it's not a huge loss. Now, another one that I know a lot of people are going to be using a lot, or they're going to need to, and they might not know, is there's an intel barter here on Peacekeeper 3. And it's 4 diaries, 4 slim diaries, and a map. It's kind of steep, but if you're having a hard time finding intel, I've already done this barter a couple of times now, trying to get my intels for intel 2 or 3, whichever it is. Not the point. Great barter. These can be easily found on reserve. Hit filing cabinets with your scav or your PMC. You will find these. Bring a docs case with you and just stuff these in there. You will get enough for your intels and everything else you need them for. Now, next up is a weird one. Some of you might laugh at it, but it is the gas analyzer barter for a CPU fan. And the reason I say this is because one CPU fan takes up less slots than your 2-slot gas analyzer, right? And it equals the gas analyzer. And the gas analyzer can be used for all sorts of barters. Most importantly for me is that Grizzly one, and one that I hope you use as well. But there are the MP9 mags. You can use them to get a RFB. And there's also, and the Grizzly barter. So the CPU fans, you can do one of these per reset, but it's a CPU fan for something bigger. So if you see that and you're trying to decide, oh, do I take a CPU fan or a gas analyzer? As long as you don't need the gas analyzer found in a raid, the CPU fans equal one of them as it is. So a little bit of min-max there for your inventory. Now, another one that I really, really, really want to point out to people is this Bitcoin, because it's been really valuable for me, this wipe with a hardcore wipe, because it helps level your traders up. Whether you're selling it, you can sell it to skier, therapist, and Peacekeeper, and it will bring up their prices a ton. I sold most of mine to skier and Peacekeeper because I already had therapist covered. Now, farming part 4 gives you 4 Tetrises, and green batteries are very common on streets and filing cabinets. So it's been very easy to get these. And if you obviously find Tetrises more, you've got more you can do here. But if you get a Tetris, don't vendor it. Save it for this barter because it is super valuable. Also on Mechanic 2 is the hybrid 46 barter. This here is super good because one, it's one of the earlier suppressors you can get for pretty cheap. RAM is somewhat common, and you only need 4 of them for this. But the hybrid 46 is also used in a lot of gunsmith builds, or can be used. So it's a cheaper way to do some of those builds. If you can't find the very specific suppressors, you can almost always find a way to make a hybrid 46 work. You also need it for test drive 1, so there's that as well. Now, moving over to Ragman, there's a helmet here that I want to point out to you, and that's the 6B47, and it's both the white and the tan one, you know, if you hit your trader limit or whatever. Though I don't really like wearing a white helmet unless it's wintertime. 2 bleaches, easy to find. You can even craft these bleaches, but it's a level 3 helmet that does cover your ears, and it works pretty good. You can put NVGs on it, and bleach are pretty cheap and an easy way to get these helmets, especially when you are only at Ragman loyalty level 2. One of your first really good accesses to helmets that don't cost a bunch. You know, Prapor, you can buy the 6B47s on Prapor 2, but they're 52,000 a piece. I'd rather do the bleach, and the helmet's the same. It's basically just a different skin. This helmet is that helmet. This helmet is the one on Prapor wrapped with a cover, basically. But it's there and it's great to use. Now, also on Ragman 2 are these LBTs. Both there's a camo one, and this one you get on. You'll get this off of Sturman quite a bit, but then there's also this white one. I don't like the white one. It does stand out a lot. It is super easy to see. Better than nothing, I guess, but barely. It's only 1 Cordura for each of these. Yes, you can only do 1 per reset, but these bags are great. They're 25 slots, and they don't take up a ton of space. You can fit them in other bags. Like they'll fit inside a T20 and actually give you extra space, even though they're 25, just like the T20 is. But I've been using these a lot because Corduras you can craft. They're super simple. You have one, it's another backpack. Just a great little barter that a lot of people might overlook. Now on Jaeger, this might be something you already know about, but a lot of people are struggling to get CMSs. So I want to point this out, that once you get Jaeger loyalty level 1, all it is 3 nippers. And these are really common. They're one of the more common tools out there. So 3 nippers gets you a CMS, and you can do 2 of these on a reset. I think I have, let me see here. How many nippers do I have? I have a ton. Yeah, I have 9 of them. And every time I see nippers, I pick them up because it's just a CMS. And until I get to where I'm running Serve 12s regularly, this will be one of my most used barters as well. And then moving on to Jaeger 2, we have the TAC 30. Point this out. It's a 1-4 scope. It's an LPVO, great optic, especially on a hardcore wipe. But more importantly, it's kavasas. And these are pretty common. You can drink them, just as a side note, you can drink these down to where they only have 1 or 2 durability left and still use them. The barter doesn't care. They don't have to be full for the barter. But also, one thing I want to mention is that once you get your nutrition unit leveled up, you can craft these things. And you can actually buy the ameliorized, but they're super expensive. 22,000 a piece, not really worth it, but you find them all over the place. I find them, I bring them out because 4 of them and 2 water bottles, which again, you can drink these down to, 1 out of 50 or 1 out of 60 and craft them into 2 kavasas. And then that long train leads to a TAC 30 eventually. So that's kind of what I do. Those are my chain of events to get TAC 30s, which they're not my favorite scope, but I've been running lots of them because they're the easiest to access, at least at lower levels. Okay, with those listed, if you're headed out at this point, just do me a favor and at least leave a like or comment and maybe subscribe. It helps me out a ton, especially since YouTube favors watch time more than anything else, but I understand it if that's all you wanted to watch. But if you're still going to hang around, let's get into the real details of all of these and get you guys up to speed on the barters that are really important. I'm going to make sure to go through these loyalty level 1, 2, 3, and 4 separately to help you understand what is available to you, what is not, and maybe something you might want to work towards. So let's start with Prapor loyalty level 1. He's not got much, but there's a few that will help, especially early on. The first one is the Zuck plate. I actually use this quite a bit. It's your first really level 3 armor plate you can get a hold of. These plates can also go in a couple of different armors. They can go in your Zucks, your Gazelles, the 6B13s, the press armor, which already did that. Sorry, the press armor, the good press armor, and then the EMR. They can go on all of those armors. That's where these kind of plates can go in. And it's just a grand juice. So anytime you see a grand juice, again, don't drink it all up. Save it. A 1 out of, I think these are 40 or 30 or whatever they are. You can trade it in, get yourself a level 3 plate, which at low levels is a big deal. Now, for Prapor loyalty level 2, one of the important ones to point out is an SV98. This one comes into play quite a bit for the Peacekeeper task. A lot of people, they die trying to plant their SV98 and their e-tool for the fishing gear for Peacekeeper. This is the only way to get one other than getting one off a scav or getting lucky and finding one. It's also a decent bolt action. 7.62 by 54R is really available. You find it all over the place, and even the kind of the low tier ammo still hits like a truck and is great at killing people. At Prapor loyalty level 3, this one's kind of a meme, but it is important, and that is the KS23. You find all of these components mostly in filing cabinets, measuring tapes, toolboxes, and filing cabinets. But in a hardcore wipe where everybody doesn't have access to stuff and a lot of people aren't always on painkillers, this thing is going to be devastating. I haven't had a chance to use it yet. I'm kind of excited to do it once I get some more of these parts saved up. I had a weekly for USB drives. That's why I don't have any right now. But come the next couple of days, I'll get these and start running it around and see how effective it is. Now, loyalty level 4, one to point out is the 6B43, the Zabaralo. Again, you need this for Ragman's task and then one of Prapor's tasks as well. It's one of the easier ways to get a hold of it. There is one on ref as well, but this one isn't too bad. 3 maps, 2 relays, and it doesn't have plates in it. But if you're trying to get it down below 50%, that's good anyways. You don't want to be breaking plates to try to turn this thing in. So that is it for Prapor. Again, like I said, he doesn't have a lot, but we'll go on to Therapist now. And Therapist is one of the traders you will get the most utility out of with barters. Meds are very expensive, and the barters will help you access meds way ahead of what you can buy with rubles, as well as saving you money even when you can. Like we already talked about with the Salewas. But car med kits are also nothing to turn your nose up at, especially at level 1. The humpbacks, because there's a point before you can buy car med kits. The humpbacks, pretty common. You can go to Interchange, you can find them. You can go to Woods and find them. You can do 6 of these per reset. It gives you car med kits, gives you good access to your basic first level meds above an AI2. On top of that, they're also used in quite a few crafts early on in your level 1 and level 2 med station. CMSs use them to craft Salewas, things like that. So they are very useful. Now with keys, I just want to bring this up. They're not as useful as they were in the past because BSG did turn a lot of these key spawns up. But if you are still getting stuck on some of the early tasks like the Tarkov Director's key or Room 206, at loyalty level 1, she has these barters in here to help you get into those rooms. Now, lastly on one is the Iskra. I want to point this one out because this comes in handy. This barter specifically is for Jaeger's survivalist path. Thrifty, when you got to plant the Iskras in the water bottle and the bunkers on woods. You can't really buy those yet. So if you're not finding them in raid, you're going to be your only source of getting those for that task. And they're just decent food. You can find syringes, pretty common. They're not super rare, and it gives you an Iskra. Now for loyalty level 2, first big one is the ALU splints. Before you can buy these, this gives you access to it. Yes, it's 2 syringes, but these are multi-useful, not just as splints, but you use them to craft CMSs, which again is hard to get early on. This is going to be one of your best ways. Doing this barter just to get an ALU splint, just to craft a CMS, is totally worth it. I've done that a lot. It was the first access to CMS I really had, and I certainly used it quite a bit. And then we already talked about the grizzly barter. The next one is going to be the junk box. This is your dog tags, level 15 and higher, but anything, and they don't have to be found in raid. They can even be your friend's dog tags, if I remember correctly. I haven't tested that, but it was that way at one point. So even your buddy's dog tags can count and be used for these barters, which this is about as cheap of a way as you can get a junk box as there is. 40 level 15 dog tags is super cheap. Money-wise, you're not making that much money vendor in those. So if you're struggling for junk boxes, come look for your dog tag barter here because it is good. The next one's going to be Doc's case. You do get some of these from tasks, so it's not as helpful as it was before in years gone past. Or if you're somebody like me who likes to run lots of Doc's cases for convenience, hardcore wipe convenience is kind of out of the window. But this barter has traditionally been one of the ones I focus on to try to get. But lions and cats have been pretty difficult to get this wipe, so maybe not. So if you do get the Doc's case, it will pay for itself super quickly, even if you're not using it for keys, but you're just using it to get out more loot out of each raid, because you can fit so much. You know, if you have this, 2 slots fits all of this stuff of documents. You know, if you're looting filing cabinets and stuff, there's a lot of stuff that can go in here and gives you that extra loot space, whether you live or die. But with that, moving on to 3, the only thing really worth mentioning here is a LEDX. People might not know about this. It is kind of difficult. It is a shitload of dog tags, but if you're struggling to get LEDXs, this is an option. It's not found in raid, so it won't work for therapist tasks, but the 2 you need for your med station, easy peasy. Well, not easy peasy, but it will work for that. And then on loyalty level 4, one I want to point out is the Kiba key, the outer door key. You get the inner door from a task. The outer door you've either got to find in raid, or you do this barter. It's kind of steep. Yes, you can craft condensed milks and find them, and then it's 10 oat flakes, so it takes up a ton of space. But getting into Kiba, eventually they're going to turn loot back up, and this could be a really valuable place to get guns and some ammo, but also plates. There's always been pretty good plates in Kiba as well, as far as class 5 and 6 plates. Now, Skier is another guy that's kind of light on crazy useful barters, but there's some in here that I want to bring up. Just so you're well aware of it. Loyalty level 1 doesn't really have anything useful. If you've got a bunch of extra horses, this press vest at level 1 can be helpful. Pom-poms are easy to find. Horses, if you've got a lot of them, great. If not, there's better things to use your horses on, but it is an armor level 3 that you can put higher level plates in as well. So that's up to you. Now, loyalty level 2, you get into some gunsmith items. These 3 here, the Chris Vector MK5 mount, the 6-inch barrel, and the non-folding stock adapter. You need all 3 of these for Gunsmith Part 11. If you haven't found them and you can't buy them, this is a way to get them. Though you can't get the Vector until you do Vitamins Part 1, so keep that in mind. Now, along with that is the RFB. I kind of mentioned that already with the gas analyzer barter. This is your first real access to a 7.62x51 weapon. It depends on how you level and what you get it, but it hits hard, especially if you're crafting FMJ, and gas analyzers are really common. And you've got that barter, like I showed you on Mechanic, to get you others. So it can be a great weapon to use at lower levels. Now, loyalty level 3, we get some more gunsmith items. You have this grip here, which is for gunsmith 12. This is the only way to get this that I'm aware of other than finding it in raid. You will find it in raid, and you need to pay attention because I think there's a couple of either raider guns or rogue guns that have this on there, or maybe boss guns. So you got to keep an eye out for it if you see it. Otherwise, you just got to find it in raid because it is kind of a steep barter. Vases have been kind of hard to find. So it's there, but that's a gunsmith item for gunsmith 12. There's also the suppressor for the hunter. which I've seen a lot more use this wipe because again, it's a 7.62x51 weapon. You can get the Barters, not too bad. Nixer lenses aren't super common, but they are craftable, and you do find them from time to time, though you need 16 of them for your hideout, so keep that in mind. But slapping a suppressor on a hunter makes it pretty devastating gun to use, especially if you find some of that extra M80 sitting around or something like that. Now, next up is the DVL as well. This is kind of like some of the other stuff. You need to know about this because you need it for a couple of tasks. You need it for Gunsmith 16, but you also need it for Ragman's task, Break the Deal. If you lose the one Ragman gives you, if you die, because you have to plant this on that, if you die with it and lose it, this is about the only way to get another one for a while. Now for level 4 skier, I mean, he doesn't got a lot here. You've got the weapon case, you got the DVL, the night vision goggles if you got an RFD, the Reap, and the Voodoo. The EOTech Voodoo is kind of nice. It is 2 G-Phone X's, but if you are here, you probably already know about that. So it's not one that's really pointing anything out to you. So we'll go on to Peacekeeper. He's a super important trader to do barters with. Again, not just because they're useful, but because it helps a ton with leveling up his money spent, which is one of the more harder traders to do this wipe. Again, like I said about the ump, some of these I just barter with him and sell right back away to help that process along. So starting at loyalty level 1, it's a backpack. Just tell yourself hard drives equal a backpack, kind of like a paid equals a Salewa, and you're going to be great because when you're first starting out, you don't have backpacks. You have what's in your stash, you have what you find in raid. So if you burn through that, if you're dying a lot, just remember a hard drive will get you an MBSS, which is better than running some of the, you can technically buy a backpack on level 1 Ragman, but it's a fanny pack kind of stuff with tiny slots, not hardly worth bringing into raid. So at level 1, that is the big one. Again, we talked about the ump. Again, one of the most used barters I have, but there's also the MP5 barter that goes along with that. It's a little bit easier to do because instead of 4 or 5 total knives, you only need 3. Again, it's the bayonet, but it's 2 of the brown knives instead of the black knives. So it's there if you want to do it, if you want the MP5 to shoot, or if you just want to try to level up Peacekeeper. Just want to point that out along with the ump. The M4 is also a pretty good barter because it adds a decent amount of money to him. And the CPUs and CPU fans can come along pretty easily. Just remember, don't burn up your 3. If you're going to do this, don't burn up the 3 CPUs you need for Signal Part 2, because of course, as soon as you burn those up and you get to that task, you won't be able to find any more CPUs because that's just how Tarkov works. We all know that. Now for loyalty level 2, we get into gunsmith parts, gunsmith barters here. The MP5 mag, it's usable, but there's one on mechanic that's better. We'll talk about that. It's here, but fuel conditioners are kind of rare. I wouldn't want to burn that up on a 50 round mag. The UTG4P is used for gunsmith part 20. We talked about this bag already. And then the M67s, this is important to point out for if you're doing no offense for Prapor because of how you did chemicals. I think chemicals is the one. If you select therapist or skier, then you piss Prapor off and you got to give him 10 grenades. This is the only way you're going to get M67s for a long time. It's just Zibbos. You can do 9 per reset. And I think he needs 10. So you're pretty good to go there with that. Also, for Gunsmith is the short barrel for the AR. This is for Gunsmith Part 7. At least all the builds I know of require this barrel. So if you don't find it, this is, it's 2 LCDs. As well as the HK barrel. This is for Gunsmith Part 14. Which is a hose, which I know these are super valuable when you're low level, but if you're trying to get through your gunsmiths, this is the part that you need for it. Now, for me, I haven't found a lot of whiskeys, but if you are, this is one of your earliest access to some kind of optic. I'm not a fan of Bravos, but again, if you need to see at a distance, it's helpful. Plus, you can put a couple of sights on top of it. Now, for loyalty level 3, again, a lot of more gunsmith stuff here. The RSAS, I've used this a ton over the years. This is usually how I've gotten my RSAS when we couldn't buy them on the flea. And this is for Gunsmith Part 13. Though there is one on ref as well now if you want to do that one instead. But, 8 level 15 dog tags of both Bear and USEC ain't too bad to do if you are stuck there waiting for that. Now the G28, point this out for 2 reasons. One, it's a decent rifle. But more importantly, it's the only way you can get this 1-8 scope that you need for test drive part 1. You can't buy the scope, at least of making this video. There isn't a separate barter. I have asked BSG about this for years. Haven't got it. I don't know if we ever will. This is how you're going to get your 1-8 if you need to for test drive part 1. And then these two muzzle brakes here, you might not think about it. One big WD-40, one little WD-40. These are both needed for Gunsmith Part 17. Now for level 4, I can't click on it. I'll try to get the editors to have a screenshot or something. But on level 4, Peacekeeper, the big one to mention is there's a level 4 plate there. And then the last one on level 3 is going to be the Monoclate PE. It's Nice Guy Pass. Decent class 4 armor. Poly, it's good. Repairs well. And it is readily available. So for Peacekeeper 4, I don't have it unlocked, but hopefully we'll have the editors put up a screenshot or something here showing you guys what I'm talking about. So on level 4 Peacekeeper, the level 5 Sappy plate is here. Now I'm not usually a fan of ceramic plates, and this one's ceramic, but with a hardcore wipe, level 5 is level 5, right? And it's only an SAS drive. You can craft these and you can find them in filing cabinets and in safes and stuff, especially on reserve. If you're looking for intel items, reserve is one of your best maps to go to. So it's a level 5 plate on level 4 Peacekeeper. Keep that in mind. And that's really it for him. There's other stuff, but that's really the important one I wanted to point out. Now, going on to mechanic, there's going to be a lot here, so stick with me. They're mostly gunsmith, but I want to point them out because if the gunsmith is going to be so much harder without a flea market, you really need to know about a lot of these barters. And they're just crazy useful, not just for that, but for your hideout as well, for some tasks and just weapons in general. So starting off at loyalty level 1, the first thing we're going to talk about is cameras. This is your first access to cameras. Until you get informed means armed, until you get that task with skier, you can't buy cameras. So this barter is not too bad. Electronic components and power banks. You just got to find the power banks. They're a little more difficult. But not just being able to do some of the there's one task you need a camera for early on or two before you potentially get to informed means arms. You can also use this to craft nixers. And again, you need 16 of those and you use them for some other barters and stuff like that. And it's so much more cost effective to do this than to spend what is it? I'll look here real quick. What are his cameras cost? 320 euros. So pretty expensive purchase you're saving by doing a barter with these versus paying for them. And then also if you're going to be doing fences task, which one is it called? What it's called. Is this a reference? It's a lot of cameras you got to use. Every one of these is a camera. So you burn through a ton of them doing this if you want to do that to get your streamer case, some rubles and some XP and stuff like that. So cameras. Now the tool set, I don't feel like I should have had to point this out, but there's a lot of people that didn't realize it. You get these 5 tools on here and you are off to the races. It can be a lot easier to find than tool sets. Can sometimes be easier to get out of raid than tool sets. I know sometimes it's hard to get 2x2s out. You get all these components, you turn it into a tool set. There is a craft as well that also takes a Cordura or a ripstop. I can't remember which. It's the same thing except it takes the extra components. So you're better off doing this unless you need a tool set found in raid for some reason. Now, again, in the tool sets category here, I just want to point out the elites because a lot of people have complained to me about not being able to find elites, and because they're trying to upgrade their hideout, and I ask them, did you do the barter? And they're like, oh my god, I didn't even know there was a barter. So that's why we're here. I want to point this out. If you didn't know, it's 3 of the pliers, gives you an elite plier, and then you can use that for your hideout to upgrade it. Now the ammo box, this is your first case really that you get access to, and it's after you do Gunsmith Part 5, but that's pretty easy to get there. And it's a great little barter. Yes, it's 2 thermites. Those can be rare. Don't burn up the ones you need for your hideout, but if you have extras around, or if you find that magical key you need to craft thermites, you're doing great. But a decent barter to get yourself a lot more space. You'd be surprised how much space ammo takes up into your stash. Now for gunsmith parts, again, we have the 870 parts. These 2 here are for Gunsmith Part 5. Both of those are available ready at Mechanic 1, so you don't have to get anything leveled up, but you can get to where you can pay for them. And then this MPX barter, it's pretty accessible. The parts aren't too hard to find, but it's super important because it's one of the best ways you can get a shift grip and not have to worry about finding one in raid. So it's just, you use that for Gunsmith Part 6, and then it gives you a Bravo sight and some other components. You can use the gun, obviously, with that barter. So it's multifaceted. And then the Uzi. I've seemed to find a lot of these insect wrenches myself, tons of them. So I've been using the Uzi quite a bit, and this is a great little barter because it's suppressed, it's effective, and it's a handy little weapon to run around with. I think I've enjoyed using it. It's fun to use. It's not the best, but it's better than nothing. Now on loyalty level 2, first one I'll bring up is the LCD screens. You need these for your security level 3. You need 4 of them. And this lets you turn broken LCD screens into LCDs. It's a great little back trade there. You find LCDs, you just keep them, and then you can use them for that. I use this for, I think, almost all of my working LCDs. I just turned broken ones into it. So it ended up being a great little barter hidden in here that not a lot of people know about. Now for gunsmith, the first one is going to be, like I mentioned before, is the MP5 mag. It's 3 wires, way cheaper than the fuel conditioner one. This is one. Plus, if you're going to be running the MP5, these 50 rounders, 3 wires ain't too hard. You can craft them, you find them. 50 round mag and MP5 goes pretty good. It works pretty great. So I suggest that. Along with that, for gunsmith part 3 as well is the tri-ring mount, manual and a AA battery. You need this period for just the gunsmith part 3. There's no way around it. You have to have it unless you get a gun that already has it, which we'll talk about that. Now there's also the Annihilator. This is needed for gunsmith 12. TP200s are not super common. Sucks to use this if you find one of these, but that's what it's there for. And then you have the GL shock and the Rotor 43 pistol grip. These 2 barters right here are for gunsmith part 15. And then you have the B31. This is for gunsmith part 8, 3 rams. So make sure you're keeping RAM. There's lots of barters that use it that ends up being super handy. And then away from gunsmith stuff is VOGs. A lot of people don't realize you can get these VOG 17s off of mechanic, 6 per reset. It's just a fuse and it gives you a grenade. These are great for doing your grenadier, and they work great in tripwires. Now, loyalty level 3 is all about the weapons. You've got 2 SA-58s that just require weapon parts, which you can craft these. You can take guns out of raid, VP-209s or SKSs, and turn them into weapon parts, and then you can get yourself an SA-58. And if you're crafting FMJ, these are actually pretty effective weapons. At least they have been as of now. Maybe as we get further along the wipe, they won't be, but still a worthwhile barter. Now, more of a fun one. It's not important, but I want to point it out because a lot of people like this stuff. You know, if you're just running guns for fun versus just straight competitiveness, this little 50 round mag barter is about the only way to get it other than finding it in raid. And it's just a Poxer ram, which these are super common, and it gets you this 50 round drum mag, or these 50 round stick mag that is just a blast to shoot in the Uzi because it feels like you can shoot forever with it. Now going on to mechanic 4, it's mostly just some mags again that you can't get. You know, you've got your 100 round Uzi mag here. You've got the 100 round beta mag for the M4. This is the AR-10 50 round mag that you can put in a couple of different guns, but more importantly the SCAR. And then some thermals and guns and stuff like that. Nothing crazy on mechanic 4 to really point out. So with that, we'll move on to Ragman, who is a very important trader, if not one of the most important to know barters about. Maybe not as important as therapists, but these are ones that they're not always super easy, but they are super important. So starting off at loyalty level 1 is the Untar vest. You might chuckle at this, but it's class 3. It's light, and you do need it for a couple of tasks eventually. The max energy drinks are really common. They're also craftable, and you can use them to get this level 3 armor, which can also be used to craft splints, which I used it a lot. These 2 cans turn into an Untar, which then turn into a splint that's then turn into CMS. I know that's a long line of stuff, but when you're really struggling for items in the hardcore wipe, that's the kind of stuff you need to know to get by. The other one is going to be the P.A.C.A. The P.A.C.A. is important because not only do you need it for Task and Punisher, but it's your earliest armor you get. And instead of spending 50,000 on it, if you bring 3 of these masks out, these half masks, it just saves you that little extra cash. And that's what it's all about early on when you're starting out and you're struggling for money, is what can you do to not spend money and still get gear? And this is one of them right here. Along with that is toilet paper for ears. You can craft these once you get your level 1 laboratory up. Craft your toilet paper, but also just finding it, and it gets you ears cheap versus having to spend money on them. Now for loyalty level 2, options really open up here. First one I'm going to point out is the Thor CRV. It's a great armor. These little books obviously can, like I said, they can be found pretty easily on reserve filing cabinets. And it's the only hang up here is this is after database part 1. That's when this barter opens up. And like I already mentioned the helmets and the woodlands. That's why not a lot to say about level 2 Ragman. I suppose I should probably point out these Comtacs. I guess some people didn't realize they're here. Again, matches are super common. Comtacs are kind of expensive. Not the best headset, but 2 matches saving you 53,000 rubles right now since they lowered the prices yesterday. But good little barter there. Moving on to 3, the big one is the Gazelle here. Yes, it's a gold chain, and coffees are not too bad, and again, you craft them, but you need 4 Gazelles for tasks with Ragman 2 of them for So Good Part 2 or 3, I can't remember which, but then you also need to plant 2 as well on interchange. So you need 4 of these. You can get lucky and get them off of scavs or guards and stuff, but if you're going to need to probably do a couple of these barters just to get through the rest of the tasks. Now, for more usable stuff is the M1 rig. I like this barter because, again, you can use these waters almost all the way up and then barter for an item with them. And, you know, your Aquamarines and your Kvassas getting turned into armor is a great double use of these items. So keep that in mind, that you get this decent M1 rig that you can change the plates out with. You know, it comes with steel plates, level 4 steel plates, but you can change those out and put better plates in there. And the rig, I like the rig because it's got the slots for a grizzly. I ran these a lot over the years. Great little rig and pretty cheap to get. Now, the next one is another rig I run a lot, again, because I can put grizzlies in here and one of my favorite meds, but is the Strand Hog. Some of you guys are going to freak out because you're going to see a sewing kit here. You're going to be like, I've been looking for 50 raids for sewing kit and I can't find them for my hideout. Once you get past that, they're going to start turning up all over the place. I'm trying to think of how many I have here. See, I have plenty of them. And that's why I pick them up now. Even though I don't need them for a hideout, I still pick them up because of this barter here. Quarters you can craft, and then, you know, vodkas you can craft as well, but they're pretty common. So good armor as long as you have the components. Now, these other rigs are great. The Stitch Profi plate carrier and the Shellback are good barters, just even if you're just getting the plates out of them and if you want to run them. But these things are a lot harder to find than you'd think. Maybe they turn loot up eventually to the point where it's not. And if you're finding these commonly, great, use them. Worthwhile barter. But if not, don't burn up stuff you don't have. Now, going to 4, again, we're going to stick with the fancy barters. This is one of my favorites pre-hardcore wipe. It's this Tasmanian level 5 plates, great level 5 plates in it. I don't keep the rig. I just run these combined material plates and something else and sell the rig. But if you're finding Veritas picks and fire steels, don't vendor them unless, like, if you need the cash, fine, vendor them. But if you can save them and you're getting to level 4 Ragman, this barter is fantastic. And then the Defender is another great barter. Hammers, kind of a pain in the neck to get out. They are 5 kilos. They take up a lot of space. But when you look at one as a Defender armor, which has okay plates in it that you can swap out, but a great armor, it's worth it. I'm going to definitely be taking lots of hammers out just because it's a quick level 5 armor with good protection. And the same kind of goes for the HPC. Yes, rollers are super rare, but if you've got extras, these are class 5 poly plates. Great plates. Super power strong, super light, and in a hardcore wipe, they're going to be worth their weight in gold, which they better be because rollers are pretty rare. So one to keep in mind. And then the Trooper back. This one I can't believe. It's a super easy barter. 2 condensed milks and a milk for one of the biggest bags in the game. You do the math there. It's going to pay for itself because you can craft these. So you find a couple of milks, you craft some condensed milks, and you have yourself some big backpacks. All right, now sort of last but not least is Jaeger. He's light on barters, but he has some incredibly important ones to bring up. So let's get into those. First one's going to be Scav Vest for Punisher. Even when we had the flea market, I still see people paying 18, 19, 20, 25,000 rubles for these. Just don't. And don't worry about finding them on scavs. Find yourself a Slickers. Craft yourself a Slickers. And then you don't have to worry about taking Scav Vests out of raid. And you don't have to worry about having them when you're doing Punisher or you're doing setup. So Slickers equals a Scav Vest. Just keep that in your mind. The fuel barter, also worth pointing out because in my opinion, it's one of the easier barters to do for the fuel because Prapor does have one. Let's see here. Where is it? But it's fuel conditioners. It's 2 propanes and 2 fuel conditioners. Kind of rare. You can find these matches there's a lot of them, yes, but they're a lot easier to find. So if you're struggling for fuel, this is going to be the barter that I think you should probably go for, is this one. Now, the M700, they just added this back. I don't know why it went away. It was in for a long time, and it was a beard oil for an M700. And then earlier, this wipe, Deadly Slob asked Nikita about it, if he could get it back, and Nikita said yes, and poof, there it is. Now you have a level 1 M700 barter for a Deadly Slob. Great barter, super useful. Deadly Slobs are pretty common, and it gets you a sniper rifle. And then the dog tag case. I don't normally recommend these, but for the hardcore wipe, I will, because dog tags, you're going to want to keep them, again, for that junk box or for the LEDX, and then some of the other barters that you might want to use that take dog tags, but those 2 are the big ones. Okay, moving on to loyalty level 2 Jaeger. We have Grizzlies, again, my favorite med. Sausages and crackers. You can buy the crackers. Sausages are pretty common. You can find them around. But again, cheap way to get a good med. The next one is going to be probably one of the most frequent cases I go for early on, and that is the holiday, because again, food takes up a ton of space, and it just makes it easier keeping track and organized of your food when you have one. And the stuff is pretty easy to find. You know, it's 10 hot rods, 5 tarcolas, 5 herrings, 5 squashes. Great thing. I know some people that keep 3 or 4 of these a wipe. I don't know why. I keep 1 or 2 unless I'm crafting a bunch of stuff, but I'll be happy with just 1 for now, or maybe 2 eventually. Now, there's also another M700 barter here that I'd be do a disservice without mentioning it, because it's about one of the only things you can use. There's other stuff you can use repellent for, but it's going to be one of the best. So if you see repellents, just keep in mind you need 2 of them, and it gets you an M700, which using an M700 for shooter-borne and Tarkov shooter and stuff like that, it's just much better than some of the other rifles, in my opinion. Now, the Serv 12s, I'm only mentioning this because they did change it. This used to be just 1 vase, and they've made it 3. And I don't know why they did that, because that just sucks, but they did it. But keep in mind that once you get Med Station 3, there is a craft to take a Serv kit and refresh it. So you could get your Serv kit down to 1 or 2 uses, throw some components at it, and it'll come back out at 9 uses again. So theoretically, you only really need to buy 1 of these and just make sure you refresh it each time, and then you don't have to worry about it ever again. The other one is going to be the D-Lock. This is a gunsmith barter needed for part 22, or if you just want to use a Reap IR. It's 4D batteries, but it's the only way you can get this. So keep that in mind. That's where this is at. This is what mounts the Reap IR to your weapon. Actually, this is the part that goes underneath it. And then the Night Force scope. There's a couple of tasks that call this specifically. You need it for Gunsmith 20 specifically and Old Friends Request, but you can also use it in some other tasks, though I recommend using some of the other optics that are a little bit easier to get than this. This is kind of a steep barter. They're also, I think you can buy them eventually, yeah, but they're super expensive. So just keep that in mind, that you have this Night Force barter available for the Gunsmith tasks right here. And then the green flare. Point this out. It's just it's an Aquapeps. You get a pistol as a reward for the quest Ceasefire, and it can go in a special slot. And these can be a lot more useful than just the regular flares, because you can take other flares with you and you have multiple use. We won't get into that. Just pointed out that it's here, it's available. There's another place for a green flare for you if you don't like using the stick flares. Now, the other one is a factory emergency key. It's funny because it takes a factory key, right? Well, this is going to be super important in this wipe, because you can't just buy keys. So this is going to be able to take your factory key that you've almost used up and refresh it into a new one. That's kind of why this is here. Keep that in mind. 3 Iskras, 1 MRE, not too bad. And you do get 2 of these from tasks. You get 1 from doing Scout, and then into Factory Chief, I think, gives you 1 as well. And that will give you 2 of them, but if you're like me, sometimes you burn up 1 of them and don't even realize it till you get to factory again. You try to go out and exit, and then you can't because your key's burned up, and then you're like, oh shit, I'm screwed. So keep that in mind. Don't burn up your keys. Do this barter, keep them fresh. Now on 3, one of the most popular barters is the Red Rebel. I don't know if it's going to be popular anymore, because this is a lot of stuff to hang on to in a hardcore wipe when there's not a lot of space. 15 propane tanks takes up a shitload of space, but it's here. I want to point it out because it is super worthwhile for reserve, lighthouse, and shoreline. It makes life so much easier and way better to get out with these items. Now, another one is a mark key, though this doesn't take a dorm's mark key and turn it into a new one. It takes the 3 reserved mark keys and turns them into a dorm key. So you could run your reserve keys down to 1 use, all 3 of them, and then you can turn your 3 uses of different mark rooms into 1 10-use key on dorms. So keep that in mind, that is there. It doesn't get used a whole lot by a lot of people, but it might this wipe. Now, more quest keys here. You have the Ollie Logistics key. A lot more common. I didn't have trouble finding this one this wipe. In fact, I found it 3 or 4 times, not in its usual spot, but in jackets and stuff. But if you do need to find it, there is a barter here. It's pretty cheap. It's just 4 matches, 2 survival lighters, and a defuel, and that is for Ragman's task line. Then you have the Goshen cash register key, which is also for a task. I think it's with Ragman, but also to open up cash registers. You can make decent money on this on interchange. You got to be careful opening them. It takes a while. It's something to do kind of at the end of the raid maybe, but you can pull quite a bit of rubles out of a single store's cash registers. So could be worthwhile, especially if you're just finding these components. It's not too bad. And then on loyalty level 4, the big one to mention is just the sick case. something to work for, something to save up for. I'm going to start working for it now that I have it. Super valuable case to have. It's just got more space in it. It holds more items. Yes, you can't put docks in there, but as far as keys and other valuables, it's a great, and dog tags, it's a great case. Now, that's all the traders, but we're going to talk about Ref real quick. We're just going to kind of do it as a bonus, talk about some of the important stuff on him that you might not know about, just so you know that it's here. Now, the one I want to point out first is the Lay's Tac 2 Tactical Flashlight. This is needed for Gunsmith Part 12. You can get them in raid, sure, but a lot of times, I don't even know if I have one, I might, but it's right here. It's only 9 GP coins, and it gets you through that task. There's also the MP5 in here, and the nice thing about this is it's pretty much Gunsmith Part 3 done for you. Where is it? Why can't I find it? Where's the MP5 at? Why am I blind? Let's go to the guns. Right here. Okay. The beauty of it is it already comes with this attachment and a laser or a light on there. I would pull that off and just put a blue laser, take the sight off, put a 50 round mag in it, and you're pretty much good to go. And that is 90 GP coins as of now. With some extra parts you get to walk away from to do Gunsmith Part 3. There is also a graphics card on here. I believe it's 4. Yeah, 4 Ref gives you a graphics card, which is kind of crazy because if you're not finding them, this is a good way to either fill up your Bitcoin farm, or you can use this for the barter for the Vulcan helmet, which there's uses for that. Won't get into it. If you need the Vulcan helmet, you'll know. And this is just a way to get that graphics card. There's also the repair kits. So you have a armor repair kit on 4 and a weapon repair kit on 3. And other than finding those in raid, this is the only way to get these that I know of. Other than there is the BTR task will give you an armor repair kit, but the problem is that you have to carry a tank battery to him to do that. That's what task that is. So if you can't find yourself an armor repair kit, this is a good way to get it. And it sucks spending 300 GP coins on this, but it is worth it. The repair kit will go a long ways. It'll help you repair plates and save you a ton of money on that repair side. And then, of course, if you know, the number one thing you should be spending your stuff on Ref, in my opinion, is cases. That's where I got most of my cases for. Mag cases and grenade cases and med cases, and even weapon cases if you've got the Lega medals, and key case, and on and on and on and on. There's just lots of cases here. They're not too steeply priced, and they're definitely worth their GP coin cost. Now, if you get all the cases you need and you're still heavy on GP coins, the armors are definitely worth using. Some of my favorite armors are in here. On level 4, you get the CPC, probably one of my favorite armors that are in the game. I got this unlocked with the battle pass. Cool new skin for that. But you've also got the troopers and the ospreys and some of the other stuff in here that are decent armors worth using if you've got the extra GP coins to burn. On top of that, one other little tip, if you're trying to level up Ragman, these masks right here, these sell for like, I think 45, 50,000 to Ragman. So yeah, you got to burn up 19 or 23 or 27 or 35, but you buy these, sell them to Ragman. In fact, I'll just do one for you here real quick. 19 GP coins won't hurt nothing. We'll see what it is. Sells to Ragman for 67,000 rubles. Oh yeah, they did up stuff. So that will help you level up Ragman pretty easily. I'm not going to sell that, actually. I might use that now that I have it. But little tip there with Ref, if you've got extra GP coins, you can use these masks to get yourself to level up Ragman a little bit. And maybe some of the other traders. I wonder if, I didn't even check to see. Oh yeah, you can sell it to Peacekeeper, Skier. That looks like maybe Prapor. Nope, just Peacekeeper, Skier, and Ragman. So you can use those to help level those guys up. Kind of a handy little thing to do for Ref. There is one other one I almost skipped over though, and that is the MK47, the Mutant. This is like 90% of the way to Gunsmith Part 23 if you get there, so keep that in mind. As well as the RSAS, like I mentioned, there is an RSAS barter here if you want to do that for that Gunsmith as well. Now, when it comes to the ammo, it's not really worth it in my opinion unless they lower this a lot. I mean, even SP6, which is some of the best ammo he has, you're talking 95 GP coins for 20 rounds. So, 5 GP coins per bullet. It's up to you. If you got lots of GP coins, by all means, go for it. I won't be spending it on ammo, at least not anytime soon. But I think that's the whole video. Finally, holy smokes, that was a long one. If you guys are still around, I appreciate it. I'm glad you stuck with it. I hope you got a lot out of the video. I hope it showed you some barters you didn't know about or you didn't realize were as easy to get as they are. I hope this makes your hardcore wipe a little bit more enjoyable or a little bit more easy. And if this is past the hardcore wipe, I hope you still got some value out of it. Pointed out some of the barters in here you might not realize were there. Again, I know it was long, but there are so many barters that people overlook or just don't think of why they might be important. So I wanted to make sure to cover the ones, every one of them that I could think of. Again, thank you guys for watching, supporting the content. Appreciate having you guys around. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. We'll sign her off there. Wish you the best of luck in your raids, and we'll see you in Tarkov.